Glad you're watching Newsfeed this afternoon. A very good afternoon to you. Trust you're doing well. My name is Flora Limuki. Our top story this afternoon. President William Ruto has pledged to work with the members of the National Assembly to ensure that all junior secondary schools have facilitators required for the day-to-day running of the institutions. Ruto has lauded the competency-based curriculum, urging parents and all stakeholders to embrace it, urging parents to be involved and follow through with their children's homework. The head of state insists the government will employ an additional 30,000 teachers to address the shortage of teachers.
I will be working with members of parliament so that the additional facilities that are required for junior secondary, the government of Kenya will work with their members of parliament so that they can be delivered on time to provide seamless movement of our children across the education ladder. It's also instructive to note that 60% of all the stakeholders that were engaged agreed that CBC is the right education curriculum, but it requires some review. And that is the journey we are going to move together as a country. I know in the same report there was suggestions from a majority of the stakeholders again that the burden of cost on the delivery on CBC, especially on parents, should be reduced. I want to ask all parents that as parents, we must know that the education of our children is not the entire responsibility of teachers, it is ours as well. And we have asked TSC to give priority to the teachers that are CBC compliant when they are hiring the teachers, the 30,000 teachers by January this year.
Just 2 days after President William Ruto launched the Hustler Fund, approximately 3.5 million Kenyans have received the loan, with more than 700 million shillings borrowed in the past 2 days. This has been acknowledged by the President William Ruto today at State House during the swearing-in of the 51 principal secretaries in the Kenya Kwanza government.
2 days ago, I did launch one of our signature programs, the Financial Inclusion Fund, called the Hustler Fund, and I am happy that by 7 a.m. today, we already had 3.5 million people on that platform, and 700 million Kenya shillings had been made available, had been borrowed on that platform, and I am also happy that we are seeing the trend of repayment even as Kenyans borrow on that platform. I want to say that this is phenomenal, and we are starting the journey as a country to a single-digit credit regime that will ensure that citizens have access to affordable credit so that we can use it to drive the economy of our country and the progress of our nation.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga now claims that President William Ruto is planning to rig the 2027 elections. This follows a directive by President William Ruto for the formation of a tribunal to probe the 4 dissenting IEBC commissioners. Azimio One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga has criticized the move to suspend IEBC Vice Chairperson Juliana Cherera and 3 other commissioners. Speaking during a meeting with Nairobi grassroots leaders, Raila described the suspension as dictatorial and a threat to the democracy. He reiterated that Azimio coalition would not sit back and allow the government to oust the 4 commissioners.
Tutakuwa na mkutano na wananchi ya kufanya ushauri, kuuliza wananchi kama wao wanakubaliana na ile njama ambayo inapangwa na serikali ya Ruto na vibaraka vyake. Hiyo ndio sababu tumeamua kuongea siku ya leo. We are in a real danger of losing everything we have fought for and won over the last 30 years. We are in a real danger of starting back to the 1980s.
The Election Observation Group, ELOG, today officially launched its report on the August 9th general elections. According to the report, the election was affected in several ways. ELOG says a move to stop the tallying of presidential results affected the final results, insecurity at polling stations that even resulted to deaths of some returning officers. Power outage in some parts of the country has also been tagged as main contributors to election malpractices.
Because despite the portal that Professor Goulet has talked about, remember in the last days to the election, we had a blackout, I think, from nearly all the media houses. They stopped tallying at some point. We feel that this is where this recommendation comes in terms of can they be able to maintain that independence, because how did they just suddenly all stop around the same time? We feel there was interference, and therefore they need to protect this if they can be able to, if they want to be fair in the coverage of electoral processes.
And as the chair of the committee that had overseen the preparations for most of the ICT activities, we purposely made sure that the public portal was accessible throughout for anyone who wanted to see anything, any of our results. And we knew there were going to be multiple hits. Millions of people were hitting that site. We also took extra care to ensure that no amount of access will bring down that portal.
Candidates who are eyeing the Garissa Township constituency seat have intensified their campaigns ahead of the mini polls set for the 5th of next month. The National Reconstruction Alliance Party has fronted Abdul Ghani Sheikh Hassan to battle for the seat. The party, which alleges that Garissa Township has been ruled by one family for a long time, is hopeful that having a new leader will accelerate the constituency's economic growth.
The main focus is to reinvent democracy. As you are aware, there are already established parties who've selected candidates from the dynasties. So you imagine in the last 50 years to be ruled in Garissa by the father-in-law, the son-in-law, and then comes another father-in-law. It's just one family who intend to rule the entire Garissa for the next 100 or 150 years. So now is the time when the youth are coming up to make up their mind, ensure that they make their voice through the ballot, and I'm more than confident and hopeful to represent them in that ballot, in the sense that 70% of the voters in Garissa are the youth. If the vast majority of the voters have felt and have given confidence in me, I feel we can make through, and we will make through by 5th of January, God willing.
Persons with disability are protesting over what they termed as a challenge in accessing government offices in Mombasa County due to lack of disability-friendly infrastructure. Through civil society organizations, the group said most government offices are inaccessible, among them Uhuru and Kazi building, where the National Council for People with Disability offices are situated. The Uhuru na Kazi building houses several government offices, including the National Council for People with Disability, Coast Regional Commissioner, and the Department of Immigration.
Ukiona hii gorofa, iko gorofa 16. Sasa wewe mtu ambaye ni mlemavu unataka huduma gorofa 16, uende namba 16 ama uende namba 14 ama uende namba 15 ama namba ngapi, hata namba 2 hata namba 1, itakuwa ni ngumu sana mimi kupata huduma.
Unaweza pata hizi bumps hazikujengwa vizuri, unapata zile sign za kuonyesha kuwa mlemavu anapita asifanyiki. Utapata madereva wengi pia wajapelekwa driving school wakafundishwa, akiona mlemavu barabarani inatakana yeye ampishe,
ambayo mtu mlemavu anafaa kuingia ina shida. Kwa hivyo kila mahali ambako wanajua mlemavu ana haki kuingia kokote kama wengine.
At least 150 girls and teenage mothers from Nakuru City's informal settlements have been furnished with tips on sexual and reproductive health in a bid to curb new HIV and AIDS infections and teenage pregnancies. The girls aged between 11 years and 19 years, drawn from different parts of the Nakuru County, are beneficiaries of a mentorship program sponsored by Young African Women Initiative, Chichi Josephine with that story.
The girls aged between 11 and 19 years drawn from Kaptembwa, Pondamali, Mwariki and Kwaronda in Nakuru West and East are beneficiaries of a mentorship program sponsored by Young African Women Initiative, where they received inspirational talks from professionals in the medical sector and other fields on the importance of education. It further emerged that many young people in need of reproductive health services may either shy away from seeking or be denied access to them for a variety of reasons. 17-year-old Beatrice Wamboi from Kwamorogi tells us that most health providers were biased and did not feel comfortable serving sexually active youth.
Wasichana wasipoenda counseling, wengi wanapata mimba, wengine wanaendelea ku spread infections, watoto wadogo wanazaliwa na maradhi.
Another major barrier to access of reproductive health services, according to Wamboi, is that many communities feel that unmarried youth should not be sexually active and therefore should not have access to reproductive health services.
Kuna challenges kuenda clinic ya family planning, mara ziko mbali, zingine ziko mbali, tunaogopa counseling, bado unaona kama watakujaji na that zinalipishwa.
The Form 3 student indicated that investment in youth-friendly sexual and reproductive health services will not only help in reducing teenage pregnancy and HIV and sexually transmitted infection rates, it will also contribute to improving maternal and newborn health as well as reducing the need for procuring unsafe abortions.
Tungependa kama kuna uwezekano zikuwe karibu, alafu tupate watuni wenye hawatatujaji.
Florina Mecha adds that lack of proper education means many parents and guardians have a conservative attitude about talking to their children about sex, which in these communities is taboo.
Kwa teenage girls, maybe tu waeducatiwe kuhusu ni infections, kwa sababu saizi magonjwa ni mingi na kutibiwa pia ni shida. So maybe wa come up na idea yenye watawasaidia kuwafunza about hizo infections.
The Kenya Health Information System shows that last year young people aged 10 years to 19 accounted for 5,300 new HIV infections as teenage pregnancies continued to fuel school dropout among girls.
Majority of them are below 24 years, and despite that they have gotten children or they have given birth, these are people think that they have learned their lessons and they are not engaging, and therefore they are still within that vulnerable group because they are not even able to negotiate for sex, even because of poverty and where they come from.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
A section of Kikuyu community leaders and now state actors have called on Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as the region's senior-most political leader to help them recover hundreds of Kikuyu community artifacts spanning hundreds of years from Britain government and build a museum in Mount Kenya region to preserve the community's culture and heritage. They claim the artifacts were taken away from the Kikuyu community during the pre-colonial and colonial eras. They attribute loss of culture by the Kikuyu community to the loss of these tools, which would have given generations a sense of belonging to the community. Led by Mwangi Macharia, the CEO to an NGO called African Center for Collective and Preventive Action, they said they are planning to make an application to the British House of Commons demanding redemption of the history-rich artifacts so as to help young generations and historians precisely understand the Kikuyu culture.
It was not only the land that was stolen from us many years ago by the British colonialists. We also have cultural artifacts that are very exclusive. You know, they are serious items that were stolen from our cultural leaders then.
Sasa kuchapoteza ile utamaduni wake wa maduni yake, yale vitu yeye mwenyewe alikuwa anatumia na vile yeye mwenyewe alikuwa anakaa na vitu yake na vitu zake zile. Sasa wakati ule mzungu sasa naye alikuja alinyakua zile vitu za Mkikuyu. Sasa Mkikuyu akawa sasa hana laini. Kwa hivyo sasa kama hizo vitu zinaweza kurudi, Mkikuyu anaweza kurudi kwa mila zake na yeye akana njia mzuri.
I would really encourage for museums all over the country, like for example a Kikuyu museum where artifacts or vitu za kitambo zilikuwa zinatumika zinawekwa,
kwa sababu tumekuwa tukisikia mambo mengi pale awali ya Mkikuyu, ili hali sisi rika ya kutokea miaka ya 35 kurudi chini hatuna hiyo jambo, hatuna hiyo elimu kabisa.
The Kenya National Highways Authority (KENHA) has cautioned the general public against vandalizing road furniture for the interest of guaranteed road safety. KENHA, which has pledged to complete the Mombasa Southern Bypass by March 2024, has noted that crooks have been destroying the road's lighting system in the already completed Lot 1 of the Mombasa Road Development Project. The Mombasa Southern Bypass, which connects from Miritini to Kibundani along the Likoni-Lungalunga Road, is set to reduce congestion at Likoni Ferry. The Highway Authority has, however, modified the lighting system to solar lights in order to keep criminals away.
It's functioning well. However, with time, the street lighting has been vandalized, and that's why there has been complaints. The cables, we had secured them, we had put concrete blocks, we had covered with concrete, we had sealed with very heavy metals, but somehow the vandalism has been very severe, and we have lost the entire system except the tops, and so we are looking for a way of rehabilitating the same. We have tried to educate the locals and the residents around the way bridge, but sometimes you find the people who are stealing may not necessarily be along the road. Maybe they are coming from far. What we learn is for people to take these cables, there is a place where they are selling. So we try with the police to try to trace who are the people who are buying this material.
The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has put on notice land grabbers who have taken over 60 parcels of land belonging to the government in Nanyuki. This comes amidst allegations that 32-acre piece of land at the Laikipia County Commissioner's residence has been grabbed and reduced to 4 acres. Speaking during a meeting convened by Laikipia County government, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission said that it has completed investigations on all the parcels of government land grabbed. The affected areas include the land where the governor's office is situated, County Commissioner's residence at Muthaiga, Majengo CIPU headquarters, Nanyuki Law Courts, among other prime government land.
Fuatilia tuhakikisha kwamba hakuna shamba ya serikali imeshawahi kwenda kwa mikononi ya wananchi, na kwa hivyo ikiwa kuna jambo umeuziwa, kuna shamba umeuziwa ya serikali, ni lazima irudishwe. Na tuko na EACC na inajua wao, tukishikana pamoja kama vile tumekuwa tunashikana na wao kila wakati, wanarudisha mashamba. Hata hivi karibuni najua kwamba watatangaza zile mashamba watarudishia serikali, zile tayari zilikuwa zimeuziwa na the buying companies au the various real estate developers, wale wanauza mashamba, and particularly the buying companies.
I want to add is that what the law says now, the obtaining jurisprudence, is that it is not possible to take away government land. So those who imagine that they own titles on county commissioner's residence, please inform them that they have no land there, because this issue is settled. And I want to request them to surrender. The easiest avenue is to surrender those titles, because if you fight in court, chances are that you will not succeed.
Ndavaya village in Kinango, Kwale County has reported rise in cases of gender-based violence, with concerns being raised that police officers are the main obstacles in access to justice for SGBV victims. Addressing residents during a sensitization forum, Huria Organization legal representative Alex Mwaura, stated that 11 cases reported to the local police station have not been fully investigated. Mwaura further raised concerns over the delay in investigations, which has led to an increase in SGBV cases.
Wana takriban kesi 11 ambazo zimerekodiwa police station, lakini kwa sasa hazijafika step yoyote. Ndiposa tukasema kuna umuhimu tuweze kuhamasisha jamii ya Ndavaya ili waweze kujua mwanzo haki zao na haki za watoto. Na mtoto anaponajisiwa, step gani za kwanza muhimu waweze kuzichukua ili tuweze kuona kwamba huyu mtoto kesi imeweza kwenda mbele, na pia vile vitengo husika mahususi vitengo vya polisi na vitengo vya hospitali kuona kwamba kwa nini cases haziwezi songa mbele na kwa nini zinabakia zikiamuliwa katika vitengo vya police station na idara kama hizo.
Kuna kesi ambayo kweli iko na kila kitu alafu iishie mahali si rahisi. So hiyo ndio watu wanafikiria kama inaishia pale, na hii kesi ni nzuri. Kila kitu daktari ameandika ripoti nzuri na kesi haiendi kotini, kuna kitu kinaendelea pale.
Tumekuwa na visa vingi vya watoto kubakwa na watoto pia kutungwa mimba za mapema. Limekuwa ni tatizo sugu sana, na tumeshirikiana na hili shirika kwa leo. Tumepatiwa elimu tuweza sema ya kutosha, lakini tukaliomba shirika na mashirika mengine pia yaweze kuja hapa kwetu tushirikiane nayo ili tuweze kuondoa hili janga ambalo linatukumba.
The 51 principal secretaries have taken the oath of office in a ceremony presided over by President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi. President Ruto has retained 3 PSs from his predecessor's administration. Charles Hinga will take over as the PS for Housing and Urban Development. Belio Kipsang will now take over the State Department for Basic Education, while Peter Tum will be at the State Department for Medical Services. Under the Ministry of Health, Professor Edward Kisiangani will serve as PS State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunications.
Read the executive order properly. I am very grateful to Engineer Tum because he's the one who did the part for labor and skills development in our manifesto and also in the executive order. I think he didn't know that the president had other plans of taking him elsewhere and bringing me here. So I'm going to benefit from the work he did. But that also makes him a reference person whenever I need some clarification. The second thing is you need to go and read the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. You need not be a politician. You have to internalize that and mark the paragraphs there that matter to your department. You know, the president has been given the mandate to govern, to him and his partners in Kenya Kwanza. And he has delegated that to us. The opposition has been given the mandate to oversight us. And a lot of questions they will ask will arise from the implementation of the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. And so whether you believed in Kenya Kwanza or you didn't before the election, well, the new reality is that we have the Kenya Kwanza government here, and all of us here have an opportunity to work together to help him to deliver, to help the president to deliver on the agenda which he has.
The European Union EU ambassador to Kenya, Henriette Geiger, has lauded the infrastructural development progress at the Kenya-Uganda one-stop border post. Speaking during a tour of the facility, the ambassador said high technology installed at the Busia one-stop border post is a confirmation of positive progress aimed at curbing corruption at the customs, adding that EU is committed to supporting cross-border trade.
That the traffic between countries can be facilitated and sped up. And we have also seen through today's border post, one-stop border post, that through the procedures, it will make it basically impossible to have corruption. This is very important for us.
National trade cannot work if we don't have effective procedures and effective checks on the borders.
Results